All right, ready for another deep dive. Today, we're going deep on Nikola Tesla and the mysteries of the pyramids. You sent over a ton of YouTube videos, and there's some wild ideas in there. Some about Tesla's inventions, some about the pyramids, and some even trying to connect the two.
Yeah, it's a pretty diverse mix.
Lost civilizations, ancient power plants, suppressed technologies even, aliens.
Oh yeah, you really get a sense of the full spectrum of ideas out there when you look at all of that material.
Definitely. And even though some of these ideas might seem, well, a little out there, we're going to try to approach this objectively, see what evidence people are using to support these ideas, and see what insights emerge. Let's start with the biggest enigma of all, the pyramids.
The pyramids themselves, even before we bring Tesla into it, the question of who built the pyramids is fascinating all on its own. We have the traditional view, of course, attributing the construction to the ancient Egyptians.
Makes sense, right? But it's incredible to think about how massive of a project it was. Herodotus, the ancient Greek historian, wrote that it took 400,000 men working in 3-month shifts to build the Great Pyramid.
Yeah, can you imagine? 400,000 people.
That's a mind-boggling workforce.
It really is. And even with that many people, the logistics and engineering needed are just awe-inspiring. I mean, how did they move those massive stone blocks, some weighing over 70 tons, without modern machinery? Makes you wonder.
Yeah, one of the videos actually shows a modern construction company in Japan trying to move a 2.5-ton block.
Oh, wow. And how did that go?
It took them 18 men to do it. And that's nothing compared to the weight of the stones used in the pyramids. It really makes you wonder how the ancient Egyptians pulled it off.
A question that has fueled so many different theories. And while the ancient Egyptians were obviously very skilled builders, the lack of physical evidence to explain exactly how they did it has led some people to explore some pretty interesting alternatives. Like, some people point to the incredibly precise placement of those massive granite beams above the king's chamber.
Yeah, those beams are huge.
They say that's evidence of technology that was way more advanced than what we think the ancient Egyptians had.
This is where the lost civilizations theory comes in, right? A civilization that existed before the ancient Egyptians with advanced knowledge and tools that we've lost to time.
Exactly. People who believe this theory, like Graham Hancock, argue that we shouldn't be so quick to dismiss the possibility of earlier civilizations with advanced knowledge, especially when you have structures like the pyramids that seem to defy our understanding of ancient capabilities.
And then, of course, we have Elon Musk throwing out the alien theory, suggesting that maybe extraterrestrials were involved in building the pyramids.
Well, it's important to note that Musk actually presented this idea kind of jokingly in a tweet, but even though it was lighthearted, his comment has resonated with some people who see the complexity of the pyramids and think that it just had to be technology beyond human capabilities.
Yeah, for sure. It adds another layer to the mystery. And speaking of alternative theories, there's also the idea that the Israelites were involved in building the pyramids.
Right, and there are actually a couple variations of this theory. One suggests that the Israelites built the pyramids during their enslavement in Egypt, like in the book of Exodus.
Okay.
And another theory proposes that the biblical figure Joseph orchestrated the construction. He envisioned the pyramids as massive grain storage facilities.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Ben Carson, the former U.S. Housing Secretary, actually publicly supported that theory, which caused a lot of controversy at the time. But don't some of these theories clash with the accepted timelines for these historical events, like when the pyramids were built versus when the Exodus is thought to have happened?
That's a good point. Yeah, because the general consensus is that the pyramids were built around 2500 BC, but the Exodus is thought to have happened much later, around 1400 BC.
Yeah, but as some of the videos point out, there's actually debate within the scientific community about the accuracy of those dates. Some researchers suggest that the pyramids could actually be older or even younger than we think.
So, who built the pyramids? Still a mystery. We've got compelling evidence for the ancient Egyptians, but also some intriguing questions that their involvement doesn't fully answer. It's a puzzle with a lot of pieces, and maybe some of them are still missing. But now let's bring Nikola Tesla into the picture, because this is where things get even more interesting.
Yeah, this is where we introduce a whole new dimension to the conversation, the dimension of energy, frequency, and the possibility that the pyramids might have been much more than just elaborate tombs.
Okay, so we've got Tesla, we've got pyramids, we've got energy. Where do we even begin to connect these ideas?
Well, I think it starts with understanding Tesla's unique perspective on the world. I mean, this was a visionary far ahead of his time. We all know about his groundbreaking work, right? Alternating current, the Tesla coil, X-rays, radar, the list goes on.
He was truly a genius, no doubt, always pushing the limits of what was possible. But for our purposes, I think his fascination with energy is the most relevant, right? specifically his belief that the Earth itself was a giant electrical generator.
Exactly. He wasn't just thinking about powering our homes. Tesla was envisioning harnessing the Earth's natural energy to create a world of wireless power.
Wow, wireless power, that's a big idea.
That was the idea behind his Wardenclyffe Tower project. It was a huge structure designed to transmit electricity wirelessly across vast distances. Ambitious, to say the least.
Okay, so we have Tesla, the master of electricity, with his dreams of tapping into the Earth's energy. But how does that connect to the pyramids? Because those seem like totally different things.
On the surface, yeah. But let's look a little deeper. One of the videos points out this fascinating visual similarity between the ancient Egyptian Ankh symbol and Tesla's oscillator designs. Pure coincidence? Or is it possible that ancient civilizations had an understanding of energy transmission that we're just now rediscovering?
Wow, that visual parallel is kind of mind-blowing. And some of these videos go even further. They suggest that the pyramids themselves were actually built to harness and transmit energy, just like Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower.
It's a bold theory, but there is actually some evidence to support it. For example, back in 1934, researchers made this incredible discovery inside a pyramid that has puzzled people for decades.
You're talking about that ancient battery, right? The one they found made from a ceramic pot, a copper tube, and an iron rod. Sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie.
It does, doesn't it? But the fact that this artifact exists raises some intriguing questions. What if the ancient Egyptians had a much deeper understanding of electricity than we give them credit for?
Yeah, what if?
What if they used that knowledge to create technologies we're only now starting to grasp?
Okay, now I'm really hooked. We've got Tesla, the modern genius of electricity. We've got these mysterious pyramids, possibly built by a civilization with knowledge that's been lost for centuries. And now we have evidence that suggests they may have been experimenting with electricity thousands of years ago. This is incredible.
It really is. And honestly, we're just scratching the surface. There's a lot more to unpack as we delve deeper into Tesla's ideas about energy, frequency, and his possible fascination with the pyramids.
All right, well, you've definitely got my attention. What's next?
Well, let's talk about something that might seem a little unrelated at first, but we'll connect it back to the pyramids, I promise. Let's talk about Tesla's obsession with the numbers 3, 6, and 9.
Ah, the infamous 3, 6, and 9. I've heard about this. Tesla had all these strange rituals around these numbers, right?
Yeah, he did, walking around buildings 3 times, choosing hotel rooms based on their divisibility by 3.
It's true. The stories are out there.
And while some people might dismiss this as just, eccentricity or superstition, Tesla believed these numbers were the key to understanding the universe. He saw them as more than just mathematical values. They were, to him, fundamental principles woven into the very fabric of reality.
This sounds like we're heading into some pretty deep esoteric waters. Was there any actual science backing up his fascination with these numbers?
Well, there might be. Have you ever heard of vortex math?
I can't say that I have.
It's kind of complex, but in essence, it's a system that looks at patterns and relationships between numbers. Specifically, the sequence 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, and that sequence just keeps repeating itself over and over.
1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. Okay, and how does that relate to Tesla's 3, 6, 9?
Well, notice that 3, 6, and 9 aren't in that sequence I just mentioned.
That's true.
And that's exactly what intrigued Tesla. He believed that these missing numbers represented a different order of reality, a higher dimension of energy that kind of governs all those patterns we see in the universe.
So he saw these numbers as a kind of hidden code, a key to understanding how energy really works at its most fundamental level.
Exactly, and this is where we start to loop back to the pyramids.
Oh, okay, I'm intrigued. How does vortex math and Tesla's 369 code tie back to the pyramids?
To think about it, the pyramids, they're built with such precise geometric relationships and mathematical ratios. Some researchers have proposed that the Great Pyramid's dimensions are actually a scaled-down representation of the Earth's dimensions.
A scale of what?
A scale of 1 to 43,200.
Hold on, 1 to 43,200, and if you add the digits of 43,200...
You get 9.
Another connection to Tesla's numbers. Wow.
Exactly. And it's not just the Great Pyramid. Think about where other ancient megaliths are located around the world. We mentioned earlier the correlation between the Great Pyramid's latitude, which is 30 degrees, and the placement of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, which sits 72 degrees east of Giza. 30 and 72, both multiples of 3, 6, and 9, just like Tesla was obsessed with.
Maybe it wasn't a coincidence that these ancient builders placed these structures where they did. Maybe they had this global understanding of energy flows and how to tap into them. It's getting really exciting.
It is, and there's even more. Remember how we talked about how precisely the Great Pyramid is aligned with true north? Well, some researchers suggest that it wasn't just about observing the stars, but also about aligning the structure with Earth's magnetic field.
So they're aligning it with the Earth's energy. Fascinating.
Exactly. And whether intentional or coincidental, these mathematical connections are really hard to ignore. And when you add in Tesla's ideas about energy, frequency, and the possibility of harnessing the Earth's natural power, the pyramids start to look a lot more complex and a lot more mysterious than we've ever imagined.
This is blowing my mind. We've gone from ancient construction techniques to lost civilizations to alien theories to Ben Carson's biblical interpretations. Now we're talking about vortex mass, cymatics, and Tesla's dreams of global wireless energy. It's like all of these seemingly separate ideas are starting to weave together into this huge, mysterious tapestry.
It really is, and it makes you wonder, what if our understanding of history, technology, even reality itself is far from complete? What if there's a lot more to the story than we've been led to believe?
Okay, so we've gone pretty deep on the pyramids and all these different theories about who built them. And then there's Tesla and his fascination with these specific numbers, 3, 6, and 9. To be honest, I'm still a little fuzzy on how that vortex math stuff connects to all of this. Can we break that down a bit more?
Definitely, yeah. Remember how we talked about vortex math being all about patterns and relationships in numbers?
Right, right.
It's based on the idea that this sequence, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, just keeps repeating itself. It creates this kind of numerical loop.
Yeah, okay. And then the numbers 3, 6, and 9 are totally missing from that sequence, like intentionally missing.
Right, exactly. And that's what made Tesla tick. He was convinced that those missing numbers represented a higher order of reality, a different dimension of energy that kind of controls all those patterns we see in the universe. It was like he thought those numbers held the key to unlocking some fundamental truth.
Okay, so that makes sense. But how does that numerical pattern, that 369 code, how does that relate to the physical world? Like, how could it be built into something like the pyramids?
Well, let's think about the Great Pyramid for a minute.
Okay, the Great Pyramid.
It's loaded with super precise geometric relationships and mathematical ratios, right? Some researchers have actually suggested that the Great Pyramid's dimensions are a scaled-down model of the Earth itself.
Really?
Yeah, a scale of 1 to 43,200.
1 to 43,200. Wait a minute, if you add those digits together, 4 plus 3 plus 2?
It equals 9.
There it is again, Tesla's number. That's wild.
Right. It gives you goosebumps a little, doesn't it? And this isn't just about the Great Pyramid. Think about the placement of all these ancient megalithic structures around the Cove. Remember we talked about the correlation between the Great Pyramid's latitude, 30 degrees, and the location of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, which sits at 72 degrees east of Giza. Both those numbers, 30 and 72, they fit into Tesla's 369 pattern, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Makes you wonder if there was something more to the placement than just random chance. Maybe these ancient cultures were intentionally incorporating this numerical code into these massive building projects.
I mean, why though? What would be the purpose?
That's the question, isn't it? It really makes you think about whether these structures were just tombs or observatories, or whether they served a different purpose entirely. What if they were designed to harness and control energy in a way that we are only just beginning to understand?
Okay, so we're back to energy. How could the pyramids be linked to energy, and how does Tesla's 369 fit in?
Well, think back to cymatics again.
Cymatics, the study of how sound frequencies create visible patterns, right?
Right. And remember how some people believe that ancient structures like the pyramids might have been built to resonate at specific frequencies, kind of like giant cymatic instruments.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, Tesla was totally fascinated by the power of resonance. He believed that everything in the universe vibrates at its own special frequency, and that if we could learn how to control those frequencies, we could unlock all sorts of incredible things.
So you're saying that maybe the pyramids, with their precise geometric shapes and their alignment with the Earth's magnetic field, maybe they were designed to generate a certain resonant frequency on purpose.
It's definitely a compelling idea. Picture the Great Pyramid not just as a giant, still structure, but as a huge resonating chamber, amplifying and channeling energy in ways we can't even imagine.
Wow, okay. But what kind of energy are we talking about? Was it electricity, like Tesla was working with at Wardenclyffe Tower? Or something totally different?
That's the million-dollar question. Some folks believe it could have been some kind of sound energy using sound waves to generate these powerful vibrations. Others think it might have had something to do with electromagnetism, tapping into the Earth's magnetic field to get the energy flowing.
I mean, that's incredible. If those ancient cultures really did have that kind of knowledge about energy, knowledge that we're just now rediscovering, that just blows my mind.
It really makes you question everything we think we know about how technology has progressed throughout history. Like, what if it's not a straight line of progress? Maybe human history is more like a spiral, with periods of advancement followed by periods where knowledge is lost, only to be rediscovered later on.
It's like we're taking 2 steps forward and then 1 step back.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we still have a lot of unanswered questions, but the possibilities are huge. What if the pyramids, built on those same 3 to 6 9 principles that fascinated Tesla, what if they hold the answers to understanding energy, resonance, even the very nature of reality?
It's definitely something to think about. And maybe by exploring all these wild and seemingly impossible ideas, we might open ourselves up to new discoveries and a much deeper appreciation for the mysteries that are still out there, waiting to be uncovered.
I mean, that's what this is all about, right? Pushing the boundaries and exploring the unknown. This has been a wild ride so far, but I feel like we've only scratched the surface. Where do we go from here? What other connections are out there?
Well, let's bring our focus back to those suppressed technologies we discussed earlier. They might seem like a sidetrack, but I think they're a crucial part of this whole puzzle.
Okay, I'm listening. How do suppressed technologies relate back to Tesla's vision and all these pyramid mysteries?
Well, think about Tesla. He was a true visionary, a guy who challenged the norms and pushed the limits of what people thought was possible. His ideas about energy, resonance, all that stuff way ahead of his time.
Absolutely. And, he faced a lot of opposition from people who wanted to keep things the way they were, especially the folks who were in power, because of the way things were already working.
Exactly. And this is where those stories about suppressed technologies come in. They show us that truly groundbreaking ideas, especially the ones that threaten the established power structures, are often met with a lot of pushback and resistance.
You think that maybe the suppression of things like that water-powered car or that cancer cure device, are they part of a bigger trend, maybe a trend that Tesla himself ran into?
It's definitely worth considering. What if there's some kind of force out there that's trying to control what we know and what technologies are allowed to be developed? Something that's trying to suppress anything that might upset the current power dynamics.
Wow, that's a pretty intense thought. But it also makes this whole exploration even more intriguing. Are we uncovering a whole hidden history, like a shadow narrative of innovation being stifled and knowledge being buried?
It's possible, and if so, what does that say about how we understand the world today? What amazing possibilities are we missing out on because we're so quick to dismiss ideas that challenge the accepted ways of thinking?
Man, these are big questions. And I don't know if we have all the answers, but I'm ready to keep digging and see where this all leads.
Absolutely. Let's keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep an open mind. Because as they say, the truth is out there.
All right, so we've gone deep on the mystery surrounding the pyramids, Tesla's obsession with energy and those strange numbers, and even touched on the idea that some groundbreaking technologies might have been suppressed. It feels like we're putting together a giant puzzle, but we're still missing some pieces.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And maybe those missing pieces are hiding in the connections we're making between all these seemingly unrelated things. Like, remember how we talked about those visual similarities between the Ankh symbol and the design of Tesla's oscillator?
Yeah.
It's like we're seeing hints of some ancient knowledge resurfacing in modern times.
Right, as if Tesla, maybe without even realizing it, was tapping into a source of wisdom that goes back thousands of years. But if that's true, why was this knowledge lost or suppressed?
That's the question, isn't it? Why do some ideas catch on and change the world while others just disappear? Is it just a matter of timing? Or are there forces at work that are actually controlling what we know and what we don't know?
It makes you wonder if we're living in a world where only certain ideas are allowed to succeed, while others are pushed aside and labeled as conspiracy theories or pseudoscience. Like, is there a limit to what we're allowed to know?
It's a disturbing thought, but maybe there's some truth to it. Think about the pushback Tesla got back in his day. His ideas about wireless power, about harnessing the Earth's energy, they were met with so much skepticism from the scientific community.
And even today, people scoff at ideas like free energy or cars that run on water. They think it's impossible.
But what if those ideas aren't impossible? What if they're just, well, inconvenient for certain people? What if they challenge the powerful groups that control things or threaten those big industries that rely on keeping things the way they are?
Okay, now we're getting into some really controversial territory. Are you saying that someone is deliberately trying to keep certain technologies or ideas hidden because they could change the power structure?
I don't know about a grand conspiracy or anything, but it makes sense to think about who benefits from the current system. Take the energy industry, for instance. If a truly viable form of free energy were to come along, it would completely disrupt an industry worth trillions of dollars.
Right. It's all about follow the money, like they say. To understand why certain ideas are accepted and others are rejected, you have to see who stands to gain or lose.
Exactly. And it's not just about the money, it's about control. Information is power, and those who control what we know have a huge amount of influence over society.
So what do? Are we stuck in this loop of new discoveries being made and then being buried over and over again? Like, are truly innovative ideas doomed to fail because they upset the status quo?
I don't think so. I think we're at a turning point in history. With the internet and social media, we have more access to information and more ways to connect with each other than ever before.
It's true, information is everywhere. It's hard to keep anything truly hidden anymore. And people are starting to wake up to the fact that there might be a lot more to the story than what we're being told.
Yeah, and that's where the real power is, in people becoming aware and questioning things. When enough of us start to doubt the official narrative, when we demand more transparency and accountability, that's when real change is possible.
So what can we do? Like, how can each of us help to make that shift happen?
It starts with curiosity. Don't be afraid to ask questions, to challenge what you're told, and to explore those ideas that seem a little out there.
Be like Tesla. Be a fearless explorer, even if it means going against the crowd.
Exactly. Read everything you can get your hands on, watch documentaries, listen to podcasts, and most importantly, think for yourself. Don't just blindly accept everything you're told. Do your own research and come to your own conclusions.
I know this whole deep dive has made me want to learn so much more about Tesla, the pyramids, and this whole idea of suppressed technologies. It's fascinating.
I encourage you to keep learning. And remember, this isn't just about uncovering the secrets of the past. It's about creating a better future. If we reclaim our natural curiosity and embrace the power of asking why, we can build a world where new ideas are encouraged, not suppressed, and where knowledge is shared freely for the benefit of everyone.
That's a powerful message. So for our listeners, what's the one thing you want them to take away from all of this?
Never stop questioning, never stop exploring, and never stop believing in the incredible power of human ingenuity. The truth is out there waiting to be discovered. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to make the next big breakthrough.
That's a great place to wrap things up. Thanks so much to our expert for joining us on this deep dive. And to our listeners, thank you for coming along on this journey with us. We hope this has inspired you to keep exploring the mysteries of our world. Until next time, stay curious and keep searching for the truth.